So I just got laid off from my 9 to 5 that I dedicated 8 years to for this big corporate company. They laid off 1,000 and some people, including myself.
Men going their own way are being blamed for women losing their jobs. So, guys, they said that they would rather the beer, but now, they don't want to go and hang out in the woods. Today's video comes from Clownfish TV. Their channel will be linked in the description of the video so that you can go check them out and support them. Watch the end of the video to fully understand the implications of so many women now losing their jobs while blaming men, specifically men going their own way, for no longer having work. Don't forget to follow us on Rumble. You never really know what can happen on this platform, so go ahead and follow us over there. And now let's just go ahead and jump right into the video after a message from Angry's Crypto Academy. Guys, the financial system is on the brink. ATMs will freeze and banks will close their doors. They'll chain those doors up. Your assets are at serious risk. Discover how to protect your wealth with cryptocurrency. At Angry's Crypto Academy, you'll master the skills to buy, sell, trade, and invest in the most secure coins, plus uncover the 4 coins that virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. Click the link in the video description below to find out what these coins are and join the Academy today. And now let's just go ahead and jump right into the video. First video.
So I just got laid off from my 9 to 5 that I dedicated 8 years to for this big corporate company. They laid off 1,000 and some people, including myself, and it happened this morning. And it's a bittersweet feeling because, a lot of you probably didn't know that I had a 9 to 5, but I hustled, worked 9 to 5, and then did my content creation after that, sometimes 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. and then went back to the office. I cried this morning, not because I'm sad, but because, it's just like you give so much for a company, right? But I've been praying a lot about it. And, in the back of my mind, I knew that I wanted to take this content creation full time one day, but I didn't know if I had the strength to leave. And so I prayed last night. I've been praying for a couple weeks knowing that this decision was going to happen. And it's wild what God decided for me. And He knew I was ready. I just didn't know I was ready. And it is a bit scary, but I think this was the best way to go.
Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about how Jodie Whittaker is blaming men for the failure of Doctor Who. We're talking a lot about...
like Blame Men Day?
This is.
It's like every day anymore.
This is really interesting because this goes along with the video I did yesterday. The Wrap put an article out talking about how Hollywood doesn't have a lot of male role models anymore. So men and boys don't know who to look up to, and they're looking up to people like Mr. Beast because there aren't any strong role models, but they're also simultaneously afraid of strong role models in Hollywood because they're afraid it's going to push Trumpism. What Jodie Whittaker is saying actually goes back to Peter Davison, who's the 5th Doctor, who said when they cast her, he said that the casting of a female doctor meant that there was going to be a loss of a role model for boys, and here we are. Boys didn't watch, men didn't watch Doctor Who, but the thing is, they did. This is what's so weird about it. Actually, she got the best ratings at first for years.
The one who didn't want a female doctor wasn't you, it was me.
Well, we can talk about that because that actually came up too, that there are a lot of women that are tuning out of these shows, these franchises, because they actually tuned in for the men, the male characters.
One of the biggest audiences for Doctor Who were women watching it for doctors, and that they had the companion. There was stuff going on there. That's why they watched it. But the female Doctor Who, Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who failed because the first season didn't even have the classic Doctor Who, villains in it. The villain was men and you and
misogyny and racism.
Parks. Doctor put Rosa Parks on the back of the bus, something like that. It was stupid. It was being written as if it were a soap opera where there was a lot of talking in a cafe. Men don't want to watch that. They weren't watching Doctor Who for that shit.
Well, they hired soap opera writers to work on
That's what I'm saying. It was talking and feel your feelings. Men don't want to watch that shit.
Women don't want to watch it either because a lot of them, I mean, at least for the for new who, a lot of them like the younger, attractive doctors, and they like the romantic subplots, even though that was not part of classic Who.
Actually, you know what's funny? So I'm not a soap opera bro, but there are soap opera bros out there who watch soap operas, and I'm not gonna lie, I caught General Hospital a few times, and there were some interesting characters on General Hospital. I'm not gonna even lie. Like, don't even compare Doctor Who, the garbage, the cesspool that is Doctor Who, to something like General Hospital, because they've got some baddies on General Hospital. They've got some baddies and witches on General Hospital. All right. They know how to listen. I'm just saying. All right. General Hospital, Days of Our Lives. There's a reason why these shows have survived for decades. I'm just putting that out there. The garbage that Doctor Who became was literally like some, it was some, feminist centric. And I'm not saying anything negative about feminism, right? Because I want to continue having my job, but it was a very feminist centric, uh, you know, performative piece in empowerment and preachy, jargon stuff. And most people didn't want to watch that. The relationship that a lot of women enjoyed watching was the relationship between the doctor, a strong male character, and the companions who got to interact with him and displayed their own strength or found their own strength as a result of being with him. People like Clara Oswald, people like Rose. Y'all remember Bad Wolf? Hell, we even got Bad Wolf Productions. Rose is probably, I would say, at least I think she is probably the greatest companion ever. Ever. You cannot beat Rose. Clara Oswald is a baddie and it is a total baddie, but Rose is the OG of time and space. This girl literally found the doctor left her in another dimension. She literally found her way back. That is on her. Bad wolf, bad wolf, bad wolf all day long. Y'all, we need another adventure. Oh my gosh, could you guys imagine how amazing that would be if Bad Wolf came back? Oh my god, like, oh my god, Rose is coming back. Like, Bad Wolf, Doctor starts seeing Bad Wolf all over the universe. You're like, oh my gosh, Rose is coming back. So they destroyed that series. The series was always about a strong male figure, but very more often than not, you had strong female leads always accompanying the doctor. So it was not solely about, and then we got to see these women grow into their own and become their own characters and live their own lives. And all of that was stolen away. And so, you know, with Jodie Whittaker, her version of Doctor Who, more women, check this out, more women stopped watching her version of Doctor Who than men. More women. And then what does she do? She blames men for the show collapsing. Hollywood is falling apart right now, and they're beginning to notice that men are beginning to increasingly flee television. Men are tuning out. Men and boys are not watching TV anymore. They're not watching the movies. They're not watching any of these things. They are tuning out, and where they are headed is into things like retro video games. So offline games, so gaming, gaming, there is multiplayer. So yeah, they like their Fortnite and other stuff, but a lot of men are turning to retro video games where they have an offline experience. You guys are hacking, you guys are, setting up your PlayStation 3s and putting an SSD in there, a giant SSD in there, and then loading up 150 games. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's a crap load of games. And then playing games from like these previous generations and living your best lives that way. So you're not even spending money, some of you. And this is what's and then, there are those of you guys that are going back to SNES and NES and, Atari, and I saw one of you in the comments was like, don't ever disrespect SNES. Oh my gosh, let's tell you what ended up happening. I ended up choosing, because when we were growing up we could only have one. I ended up choosing Sega Genesis over Super NES, and it was a big mistake. Yes, Sonic was lit, but I would have been so happy if I had discovered the Final Fantasy series during that generation instead of PlayStation. I had to wait until the PlayStation 1 generation, discover Final Fantasy, specifically Final Fantasy 7, which was the first Final Fantasy for most people. To this day, Final Fantasy 7, just the way that it was designed, it's breathtaking. It is like a movie. It is 100% a movie. Final Fantasy 7 is 100% a movie, even 30 years later, almost 30 years later. I think it came out in 97. And I just kind of look at it now and I think to myself, like, we had games like, Tomb Raider back then. We had lots of we had quite a few games with a lot of baddies, but it's not about strong women in games. Lara Croft, you cannot really get any stronger than Lara Croft. The problem is that Lara Croft used to get dumped into these jungles and she had no companions and she was taking down all of these men on her own, solving all of these riddles on her own, all of these crazy puzzles on her own, completing all of these acrobatic things, doing all of these acrobats on her own. All right, fighting dinosaurs and giant spiders all on her own. Okay, and she was a super wealthy, badass hottie. All right, and what did feminists do? They destroyed her character because it's not about strong female characters. It's about characters that basically play the oppression Olympics. You can't have a woman who is basically saying that I'm not a victim. I'm strong. I can do these things, but I don't. It's not like I HATE men, but I can. I'm capable. I learn from men. No, 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 no. It's about I don't need men. I can do everything on my own, and I'm a powerful victim. And men are tuning out. Men don't want to play these games anymore. They don't want to play modern type games anymore. They don't want to watch. They're not watching movies. They're not watching. They're not watching television shows. They're not watching CNN, which pisses the media off. And now they're like, we need strong male role models. We need role models for these men because they're tuning out and watching guys like Mr. Beast, you know, or Mr. TATE, Andrew. And the fact of the matter is that what they're saying is that they want men to be obedient and watch Simps because they need more Simps to indoctrinate these young men and tell them why they need to serve women in society and sacrifice themselves for society. It's like they're trying to condition them to be obedient SLAVEs and enjoy being treated poorly. No one wants to be treated poorly. No one wants to have everything they work for taken away from them and then be tortured along the way. And yet they're telling men to enjoy it. This is men and boys, you must learn to enjoy the suffering. These people are crazy. This is of the devil. This is why I keep telling you the biggest focus that you should be making right now is not on relationships. It should be on crypto because hard times have arrived. The ATMs are going to stop working. The banks are going to chain up those doors. And the only way you're going to be able to protect your wealth and safeguard your future is going to be with crypto. And Angry's Crypto Academy is going to teach you how to buy, sell, trade, and invest in crypto. And we'll tell you exactly which coins will mint you millionaires and how to spot potential coins to invest in. So don't miss out. The academy is linked in the description of the video. A lot of women aren't going to be investing. A lot of women are heading for hard times right now. That's why we see so many videos of women losing their jobs and crying on social media because they invest years of their lives instead of starting a family, instead of having children. They're out there in the streets. They're going around with these individuals who don't care anything about them, and then they lose their jobs. They don't have any strong savings, and now they're like, oh well, I'm going to become an influencer. And it's like, it's a joke. A lot of women now, they don't even want to tell you what they really do for a living. You're like, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a model. If any woman says I'm a model, you immediately go, oh, only fools. And they're shocked. These women are completely shocked when the man finds out that they do only fools, and the guy's like, yeah, I don't want to be in a relationship. And they start breaking down into tears. And it's like, mother, you need to raise your sons better to not be so judgmental. And it's like, bro, you're on Only Fools Lonely Fans. That platform is associated with a lot of nefarious things, and a lot of companies won't hire you. For example, forget about getting a job in government. You won't get a job in money. Most of you will not get a job in government. A lot of you won't even be able to get a job at McDonald's when they find out that you are on Only Fools Lonely Fans because they're going to view you as a security issue. And they're like, now, they're breaking down into tears. And it's like, dude, modern women they basically jumped the shark. They went so far. They went so far beyond do not go, do not pass the sign, do not keep going, that there's no way for them to come back. There's really no way. And they're not going to be able to find husbands, good husbands. When you think they're like, oh, we have a multitude of men who want us. No, you have a multitude of men who will be physically intimate with you. They rack up high body counts, and then you think that makes them cool and desirable because you're like, look at all the men that want me, bro. It's like it's a difference between a key and a lock. All right, the man is the key, and if he's able to, and the woman is the lock. And if he's able to open, if his key can open many locks, then that's a really good key. But if her lock can be opened by many keys, then that's a really crappy lock. And women don't seem to comprehend this. So the very notion they're going to go and find Prince Charming is a joke. You've been out there for so long, you've been with all of these dudes, and now you think that you're going to find the man that you want or the man that wants you, and it's really not going to happen. There might be a lot of simps who will be physically intimate with them, but the thing is that of those simps, how many of those simps are actually marriageable men? And then then how many of those men do women actually want to be in, and how many of those simps actually want to marry them? Because most of the simps that want to be physically intimate with them don't actually want to marry them. Most of these men that they're running around with don't want to marry them. Chad and Tyrone definitely don't want to marry them. And the simps that will jump at the shot to be physically intimate, they don't want to marry them either. A lot of them don't want to marry. They want to keep on playing games and talking forever. When women really figure it out, they're like, the few men that are actually left, these are not even marriageable men. A lot of them are not marriageable men, or they don't want these men because these men don't have enough money for them or the qualities that they're looking for, the Build-A-Bear workshop. So they're left with absolutely nothing. And then they say things like, oh, I'm prepared. I'm fine. I'll be by myself. A lot of them know that they're heading into the cat lady future. This is the reason why companies, I don't know if it's specifically BlackRock, but a lot of these investment firms are beginning to buy, they're beginning to buy stocks in, pet food and pet food companies and things like boxed wine. Like it's like you can go and do your research. They are and I'm like, this cannot be real. They are literally prepared because statistically, 45% of women, so almost half of all women of reproductive age, will be childless and single come 2030. This is crazy. This is between women between the ages of 25 and 44. So even a lot of these women, 44, you're outside of your best reproductive years. But basically they're just looking at this group of women. So older women older than 40, so 45 into their 60s, many of these women will also be childless and single. So roughly half of American women will be childless and single come 2030. What's going to happen to all of these women? Because we're going to see a lot of jobs vanish. We're already seeing it happen. We're a lot of people say that we're in the midst of a depression now, where the actual unemployment rate is really around 24%, which I agree with, because when they don't count people who've given up and stopped looking for work. 30 million men have dropped out of the workforce. So don't really expect it to get any better. Modern women are between a rock and a hard place, and they're not going to find anyone to bail them out this time because of the poor decisions and choices that they've made. They pushed men out of society, and men listened and left. And a country without its men is not a country. A country without its men is a wasteland. And women are finding themselves without a society that does not have men. Is a society that will have fewer opportunities because men are the ones who trade opportunities for women in society. So now the Hollywood is beginning to crash and burn without men because men are choosing not to watch television, not to go to the movies, not to spend their money on things like new video games. Look at video game journalism. Video game journalism is dying. They're crying, and it is falling apart because increasingly men are no longer reading these video game publications. They're coming to people like Vara Dark. They're coming to people like Clownfish TV. They're coming to people like Hypnotic. They're coming to people like Dr. Doom. They're coming to people like Smash JT. You really guys can see how deeply I am embedded in this community. But they're coming to these types of people for their news, for their reviews. They no longer trust IGN. They no longer trust GameStop. They haven't trusted Kotaku in ages. No one talks about Destructoid anymore. Okay? I can go on and on and on. these old school reviewers are gone. In fact, many of the originals, the OGs from the 90s are now gone, sadly. And those were some decent game journalists, guys like I remember PlayStation Magazine. That was a great magazine. EGM, I think there was EGM Squared. There was, games, was it, what, there was what, was it, there was Game Informer. That one came from, that was a GameStop magazine, but there was a Game Pro. I think it was called Game Pro. Game Pro was so lit. Don't forget that and don't forget that, like, with PlayStation Magazine, we used to get like demos in there, so we could play like demos for these games. Those were amazing days back then, because it's like getting a video game, and you would get, I don't know if it was at PSM or if it was with the official PlayStation magazine, official PlayStation magazine. So in the 90s, we also had things. We had PSM, which was the unofficial PlayStation magazine, and we had PSM, which was the official, I think, and then we had PSM, which was the official PlayStation magazine. There were two different ones. And I think it was with the official PlayStation magazine that we would usually get a demo, and it would come on a disc, and it would have bunch of different games that we could try out. The 90s were wild. It makes me remember, and one of the cool things about the PlayStation disc is, back in the days, the back used to be black. The actual reason why it was black was because they were trying to prevent piracy, and they thought that by making the back of it black, it could reduce instances of piracy. But we didn't know this, but for us, it really differentiated the look of the disc compared to a normal CD-ROM. So it was kind of cool. Like, you get a PlayStation game, and the back of the disc is totally black, like just totally black. You're like, this is so sick. And you would put it in, and you'd play your games, and of course it could also play, I believe the original PlayStation could also play MP3s. So if you didn't have a CD player, you could listen to music on using your PlayStation. Those were the days, man. I tell you, the boomers were bad parents, but we did have small bits of and pieces of happiness back then, outside of the boomers. Many of us would have done much better in the 90s. I think a lot of us, those of us who feel like crash outs, I didn't crash out, but a lot of us who feel like crash outs, we would have done better if we had different parents. It was the baby boomers, to be very clear, they had no idea how to raise children. They absolutely had no idea how to raise children. And I think that we kind of got it. We got kind of a double hit for Gen Xers, because, the I don't know. It was a double whammy. It was 100% a double whammy for for us, because I think like I think Gen Z doesn't know what we went through. They absolutely don't. Gen Z absolutely does not know what we went through. They don't care. They're a group of bad little muffins. But yeah, I mean, like, people are just kind of deciding to walk away from society right now, and just men specifically are deciding to walk away. And even though women are basically tuning out even more than men in some cases, we're still being blamed. Do you guys see how much society really does not like us as men? When women walk away, men get punished for men get punished for walking away, because basically women are never held accountable for anything or blamed for anything. So even when women are the greatest contributor to something, like in this case with Doctor Who, more women walked away from watching a female Doctor Who than men. More women. It's sad. And she's blaming men for it, because it's like basically men are like the puppets of society, and they just endlessly use men. They view men as an endless resource that they could take advantage of and use indefinitely. And it's sad. It's really, really sad, and it's really, really pathetic. And I don't know what else to say regarding it. It's never ending for us. We're blamed for everything that we do, and we're blamed for the things that we don't. This is why I keep warning y'all to focus on getting your money, focus on investing in crypto. Don't focus on relationships and dealing with people who don't even like you. Something. When the banks collapse, and trust me, it's coming, will you be ready? Imagine waking up to ATMs that don't work, bank doors chained shut, and millions of people left with nothing. No cash, no access to their savings, and no way to survive. But it doesn't have to be that way for you. That's why I created Angry's Crypto Academy to teach you everything you need to know about crypto so you can protect yourself and your family. You'll learn how to buy, sell, and even day trade crypto for a living. Plus, we alert you to new crypto trends so you can profit before everyone else even knows what's happening. Right now, I've just published an exclusive investment guide inside the Academy, and it's linked in the description below. In it, I reveal the one coin that could make you a millionaire. A coin so revolutionary, it could change everything. If you missed out on Bitcoin and Ethereum, this is your second chance. This isn't just about financial freedom, it's about survival. When the system collapses and everyone else is selling, you'll be the one buying, prepared to weather the storm and thrive while others struggle to survive. Don't wait. This knowledge isn't optional, it's critical. The link's in the description. Go check it out now.
Longtime Whovians kind of roll their eyes at the whole, but that worked to bring the female audience in. And that goes back to what I was talking about yesterday, that where men and women do look for different things in entertainment. Sometimes you get something that scratches the itch for both, but there definitely is a difference. And for the most part, we'll be honest, we watch different stuff.
Mm-hmm. We watch Doctor Who, though.
We all watched, the entire family watched Doctor Who because there's something for everybody. And then until there wasn't.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that though, because she's basically blaming men. But I'm like, again, Jody, your premiere episode was one of the highest rated episodes of Doctor Who in New Who history. It was like 10 million, 11 million people watching it. And then what turned people off was the show itself.
That's what I'm going to say. They keep blaming, and it's not just Jodie Whittaker. We see it with Star Wars. We see it with everything. Instead of taking responsibility and being like, maybe we did, maybe it could have worked with the female doctor if we had actually made it like Doctor Who and not like a soap opera and all this other stuff. And we had actually kept the villains in it because we were trying to be cheap and all that shit. It's never because we screwed up. It's always because of men. It's like, it ends in why it's a man's fault. And it's really stupid and it's really old. And it's like, or maybe you guys keep taking shows and movies and franchises that have a male dominated audience and you know that, and you try to make it a female audience and you just fundamentally ruin everything about it. Because there was already women who watched it and liked it, but you had to ruin it. And that's what they're doing. They never take the blame. They never say, we probably should have changed it. It was probably a bad idea because it was resonating with both prior. No, it's always blame men. And it's a lazy, it's a cheap ass cop out. You done screwed up, own it.
So we're going to talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, can you muster a woohoo, Geeky? I know you're not feeling that well.
Woohoo! It's not that I'm not feeling well. It's just that I'm in pain.
Well, that's not feeling well because you're in pain.
Stupid dental stuff. Anyway,
stupid dental stuff. Yeah. So, if you guys are not getting, if you're not getting notifications, go out to clownfishtv.substack.com, subscribe out there. You will get an email notification every time we upload a new episode.
I mean, guys, modern women did this to themselves, and now they have to live with the consequences. And of course, they're not going to, so they'll just blame us for everything. That's a woman's solution for everything that happens in the world. Even when men are clearly not to blame, even when men do support them, if they don't get what they want, if women don't get what they want from other women, even though they'll get exactly what they want from men, they'll still just turn around and blame men. Like this is what I tell you about when it comes to women. For example, a woman has a show. Only men show up to the show. Women don't show up. A woman will then turn around and blame the men for having low attendance rates, even though all the men showed up, but the women didn't show up. So are you saying that the men should not have come? Well, no, but enough of them didn't show up. What are you talking about? All of them showed up. Women just weren't interested. How is it the fault of your male fans for showing up and showing you support, but women just weren't interested? because of what they perceived as anti-male. So men showed up for something which, by the way, was extremely anti-male, but they still showed up. But women didn't show up because they basically wanted to see men, and you took men out of the show. But men still showed up because they were like, oh well, you got rid of the guys, but yeah, we'll still show up because the girls, because you're still showing the girls, and it's like, and then but women are like, well, no, we want guys, and it's like, it's a level of insanity. And then you wonder why men are opting out of society and relationships, because there's no logic or reason to anything. I keep telling you guys that we're dealing with people who are functionally insane at best. And as a result, men are just sick and tired of it. And that's why they're opting out of society. But then you literally have men going their own way, being blamed for women losing their jobs now, as if it's their fault. Ends up and dropping out of society entirely. Let me know what you guys think about everything we discussed in this video. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. Walking away and share.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.